What if I told you that the exact moment a memecoin feels the safest to buy is usually the moment you're about to lose the most money? It sounds almost like a cruel trick of the market, but time and time again this pattern repeats itself. The hype builds, the prices shoot to unimaginable levels, social media explodes with rocket emojis and moon predictions, and right when people finally gather the courage to invest, the bubble bursts. It's not a coincidence, it's a cycle, and if you're not careful, it's a cycle that will drain your money faster than you ever thought possible. Let's be honest. Most people don't hear about a new memecoin when it first launches. They hear about it after it has already made massive gains, after early investors are bragging about life-changing profits, after the mainstream is talking about it. By then, it feels safe. Everyone is making money, the price chart only goes up, and fear of missing out starts screaming louder than common sense. But here's the harsh truth. When you see everyone talking about a coin, it's usually because the people who got in first need new buyers to pump the price higher so they can sell at the top. That's the dark engine of hype. History proves this over and over again. Think back to Dogecoin in 2021. At the height of Elon Musk's tweets, Dogecoin skyrocketed, hitting an all-time high that seemed unstoppable. People were mortgaging homes, borrowing money, or emptying savings to jump in because they thought Doge was heading to the moon. But what happened next? Within weeks, it crashed over 70%. Those who bought at peak hype weren't celebrating, they were stuck holding the bag, watching their investment evaporate. The same story repeated with Shiba Inu. Early buyers turned small investments into fortunes, but the majority of latecomers lost heavily once the frenzy faded. And it doesn't stop there. In 2023 and 2024, we saw new waves of memecoins appear out of nowhere. Some of them like PEPE exploded within days, gaining millions of dollars in market cap overnight. People rushed in thinking they'd found the next Doge or Shiba. But most of these coins collapsed just as quickly as they rose. Developers disappeared, liquidity drained, and thousands of investors were left with nothing. The lesson is simple: memecoins thrive on hype, and hype is a dangerous thing to buy into. Why does this happen? The psychology is brutal. Hype plays on our emotions, not logic. When you see everyone online screaming that a coin is going to make millionaires, it creates the fear of missing out, FOMO. And FOMO makes you act fast, without research, without risk management, without considering that someone on the other side is selling to you at that very moment. In fact, insiders and whales, people who bought large amounts early on, count on your FOMO. They know that when the hype reaches mainstream attention, small investors will pour in, driving the price to insane levels. That's when the insiders dump their bags, taking profits while newcomers get trapped at the top. Statistics back this up. According to recent blockchain data, over 70% of memecoin projects launched in the past 2 years have already lost more than 90% of their value. Many of them were rug pulls, where developers drained liquidity and vanished. Others simply faded into irrelevance after the initial hype cycle ended. And yet, despite these numbers, the cycle repeats again and again because greed and excitement overpower rational thinking. You might wonder, if memecoins are so risky, why do people keep buying them? The answer is hope. Hope that they can be the early one, the lucky one, the person who turns $100 into $100,000 overnight. And yes, for a handful of people, that dream comes true. That's why the stories are so powerful. The one trader who became a millionaire gets endless attention, while the thousands who lost everything remain invisible. But the reality is harsh. For every one winner, there are countless losers who entered at peak hype and never recovered. This doesn't mean memecoins have no potential. Dogecoin and Shiba Inu prove that a meme can transform into a global brand with loyal communities, mainstream adoption, and billions in market value. But those are rare exceptions, not the rule. Most memecoins never reach that level. They burn bright and die fast, leaving a trail of financial wreckage behind. Think about how social media fuels this fire. TikTok trends, Twitter memes, Reddit threads, and YouTube videos can push a coin into the spotlight overnight. Algorithms reward hype, not facts. The louder people scream about a coin, the more visibility it gets, creating a snowball effect where hype feeds hype. But social media doesn't care about your financial safety. It doesn't warn you when you're buying into a bubble. It only shows you what's trending, and by the time something trends, insiders are already waiting to unload. Another overlooked danger is how exchanges exploit hype. The moment a memecoin goes viral, exchanges rush to list it, knowing that millions of traders will jump in. They benefit from trading fees no matter what happens, whether you win or lose. And once the frenzy cools off, they move on to the next shiny coin, leaving traders stuck with bags that no longer move. Even the biggest names in crypto have admitted this is a problem. Analysts have compared memecoin trading to gambling, saying it's less about investing and more about playing with fire. And while gambling can sometimes bring quick rewards, the house usually wins. In this case, the house is the early whales, the insiders, the developers, and sometimes even the platforms themselves. Now let's look at the risks from another angle, the economic one. Memecoins don't have intrinsic value the way Bitcoin has scarcity or Ethereum has utility. Their value comes almost entirely from collective belief and attention. That means the moment attention shifts, the value disappears. You can't build long-term wealth on attention alone because attention is fickle. One week, everyone is talking about your coin. The next week, they've moved on to the next joke or trend. And if you bought during the peak, you're left holding something nobody cares about anymore. What makes it worse is that these cycles are accelerating. In 2025, new memecoins don't take months or years to rise and fall. They do it in days, sometimes even hours. By the time you see a coin trending, by the time you even consider buying, the best chance for profit is already gone. That's the cruel nature of peak hype. It punishes hesitation and punishes late entry, trapping you between greed and fear. Of course, some people will still take the risk. And that's fine, as long as you understand the rules of the game. If you buy memecoins at peak hype, you're not investing. You're gambling, plain and simple. And gambling is only fun when you play with money you can afford to lose. The problem comes when people risk savings, loans, or life-changing amounts, thinking hype will protect them. It won't. So what's the solution? It's not to avoid memecoins entirely, because let's be real, the temptation and excitement will always be part of this space. The solution is awareness. If you choose to play the memecoin game, know that entering during peak hype is almost always a losing move. The winners are the ones who buy early, who sell into the frenzy, and who don't get emotionally attached. The losers are the ones who buy because everyone else is buying, who ignore the warning signs, and who believe hype lasts forever. The next time you feel that urge to buy a memecoin because it's exploding, pause. Ask yourself, am I acting out of research, or am I acting out of fear of missing out? Is this decision based on facts, or is it driven by the noise of social media and influencers? And most importantly, if this coin dropped 90% tomorrow, could I handle that loss without regret? If the answer is no, then maybe the hype isn't worth it. Because here's the real truth, hype doesn't create wealth. It transfers it. The people shouting to the moon aren't necessarily your friends, sometimes they're the ones selling to you. And in the brutal world of memecoins, the difference between walking away a winner or a loser often comes down to one thing, timing. So don't let peak hype trick you. Don't be the liquidity for someone else's payday. Be patient, be cautious, and remember that opportunities in crypto will always come and go. But your money, once lost to hype, may never come back. At the end of the day, memecoins are a high-risk, high-reward gamble, and the market is ruthless to those who confuse hype with safety. The crowd is always loudest right before the crash, and the question you need to ask yourself is simple. When the music stops, will you still have a chair, or will you be left standing with nothing but regret?